Well. We have a new host of the Kennedy Honors, and evidently, culture is dead thanks to Donald Trump. You know what I realize is that white nationalism is akin to just trash, cheapness. Do you know everything is a front, everything is a projection, but everything is also cheap and tawdry. And that's exactly what Donald Trump has done with his culture takeover of the Kennedy Awards. He's turned something that is esteemed, something that is an actual honor, into something that is basically out of a vending machine. Do you know what I'm saying? Just absolute fucking trash, like he is. Folks, buckle up because I got a lot to say today. Welcome to the Danielle Moodie Show. It's so great to be back live with all of you. Let's go. So, we begin today, dear friends, with a piece that is up right now at the New York Times. And I think that it's really important because it kind of breaks down where we find ourselves in this moment in this godforsaken place called America. And I want to go through it. So, it's a piece by Jamel Bowie entitled Why Trump Always Wants a Crisis. And Jamel breaks it down. How did the president justify the quote public safety emergency he used to deploy the National Guard to Washington and seize control of its local police? He said there was crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. Our capital city has been overtaken by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals, roving mobs of wild youth, drugged out maniacs, and homeless people. Trump in a stark attack on the nation's capital. The solution? Military force. We're going to put it in control very quickly, like we did in the southern border. The president later described Washington as more violent and dangerous than some of the worst places on earth. None of this is true. The Justice Department itself announced in January that crime in the capital is, according to data from its Metropolitan Police Department, the lowest it has been in over 30 years. The MPD cites a 26% decrease in total violent crime so far this year compared with the same period a year earlier. And the areas around the White House, where the president has made a point of stationing National Guardsmen, are not known for crime or disorder, unless you count the January 6 rioters pardoned by Trump in one of the first acts of his second term. Despite several high-profile incidents, including an assault on a young member of the Department of Government Efficiency, there is no evidence to support the president's hellish depiction of the district. But here's the thing that I want to bring up. This has always been the fantasy that white nationalists have created with regard to cities. There has always been this picture in their mind of roving black and brown people that are just, snatching up white women, raping them, and taking over property, et cetera, et cetera. But anybody who's ever visited Washington, D.C. or has lived there, like I did for nearly 20 years, can tell you that D.C. is probably one of the safest places you could possibly be, particularly the federal lands that surround the White House, the National Mall, et cetera, et cetera. But this conjuring, this fetishism of cities as these dangerous places, it's necessary in order for them to play out this fantasy of authoritarianism. You see, facts don't matter. It's why Donald Trump just fired one of the lead statisticians. He doesn't like the numbers. They don't make sense to him. So on to the next person that will tell him whatever it is that he wants to hear. And because a majority of these people right, that listen to Donald Trump and the drivel that comes out of his mouth are watching through the lens of Fox News, this kaleidoscope, this funhouse of fuckery. They'll never step foot in any of these places because they believe them to be so dangerous with these roving criminals, except for the sheer fact that the only criminals that I've ever seen inside of Washington, D.C. were there on January 6th, scaling walls and shitting in the Capitol building and stealing documents from our members of Congress. The only criminals that I saw were the ones that were beating up police officers. And when Donald Trump was called to say, bring in the National Guard, our Metropolitan Police Department needs backup, he said, oh, it's not my job. It's not what I do. No, I just sit around and eat fast food and throw ketchup at the wall because I'm a petulant fucking toddler. You see, what is becoming clear is that Donald Trump is running out of hits. So he's got to continue to repeat the same drivel and bullshit over and over and over again. And you see, the people whose minds have been corrupted by Fox and OAN and all of these conspiracy sites and places are starting to get tired of the records that are being played. And so Donald Trump, in classic authoritarian form, has got to escalate, right? So if you don't see violence anywhere, if things and crime and violence is at an all-time low, well, then you have to manufacture it. So if you put police and military down on the streets of Washington, D.C., well, they're bound to cause some type of scuffle. You will get the people out into the streets and protesting. And then you can force this escalation that is necessary in order to create the imagery that goes along with the fantasy that you have been creating this entire time. You see, Donald Trump needs actors as part of his big reality TV show. He needs to set the scene and create the imagery. And when it isn't there in reality, well, he just brings in crisis actors, AKA the FBI, the National Guard, and whoever else gets to put on these, outfits and show how big, bad, and tough they are. We're all part of the big production in Donald Trump's mind. Except most of us are starting to open up our eyes and realize that it is as empty as The Apprentice, that it is nothing more than cotton candy for your brain. It is lies and smoke and mirror. Because for those that are actually on the ground in Washington, D.C., or were in LA, or in New York City, the rest of us are going about our lives. It's Donald Trump that's stuck in this crazy loop that has him getting high on his own supply. Jamel Bowie goes on, and he writes this. The president's action in the Capitol, the first time a president invoked the D.C. Home Rule Act of 1973 to take over the city's police, is just the latest in a long list of so-called emergencies he has conjured up to claim unilateral authority over the American people. In January, alleging an invasion of the country, Trump declared an emergency on the border as pretext for the use of federal troops for immigration enforcement. In March, he invoked the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 and the claim that a Venezuelan gang, Tren de Arangoa, I'm sure I'm butchering that, was conducting, quote, irregular warfare against the territory of the United States, a definition of warfare that cuts against legal precedent and the plain meaning of the word. Trump used his emergency to unleash immigration authorities and anyone deemed a gang member, removing them from the brutal C-cop prison in El Salvador. So here's the thing. What constitutes a criminal to a white nationalist? Well, the sheer crime of having brown or black skin. We knew that there were people that were sent off to that horrible death camp in El Salvador for no other reason than being brown and having tattoos. We knew that, according to 60 Minutes before Paramount sold them out, that 80% of the people that were arrested had absolutely no criminal record. And then of the 20% that did, it amounted to no more than a traffic ticket. So those people just happen to be brown men in the right place at the wrong time, dealing with an administration that, by very virtue of your existence, is going to find you to be a criminal because they are a white hammer looking for a brown nail. And they'll turn you into one, whether you are one or not. He goes on to say this. In addition, Trump has invoked emergency powers to impose sanctions on the International Criminal Court, to punish Brazil for its prosecution of its former president, Bolsonaro, and to threaten our northern neighbor Canada with import duties. None of these were real emergencies. There was and is no external crisis facing the United States. But for reasons of both personality and public ambition, Trump needs a crisis to govern, or rather to rule. And if the actual conditions of reality will not give him a state of exception, he'll create one himself. In a nation made supposedly of laws, we have gambled on the discretion of men to keep the use of crisis authority in check. With Trump, we played a bad hand. Rather than treat emergency powers as a dangerous tool to be wielded with care and caution, this president has used them with reckless abandon as a toy, a means through which he can live his fantasies of strength, domination, and authoritarian control. Beyond the psychological impulse, there is a practical reason that Trump has embraced emergency powers and crisis government through pretense. He can't do anything else. Look past his boastful claims of deal-making, Jamelle Bouie writes, prowess, and you'll see a president who struggles to hold his own in a negotiation of equals and is too acutely solipsistic to persuade a skeptic of his own view. Even his much vaunted, by subordinates and admirers, trade deals and agreements with institutions of higher education are less exchanges than a form of extortion, in which he uses threats of pain, punishment, and legal action to impose a settlement. The president's most famous attribute is that nothing for him is ever enough. He has never had enough real estate or enough wealth or enough praise, adulation, and worship. We should have realized after his attempt to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election that he couldn't have enough power either. He still can't. And only time will tell what that means for our efforts to govern ourselves. I suspect that as Trump inevitably works to extend his personal dominion over the entire country, we'll find renewed value in the insights of our revolutionary forebears. We may even decide to put them to use. In plain English, Jamelle Bouie says, Donald Trump is the great nothing from the Never-Ending Story, the film of the 1980s. He just keeps consuming and extracting and consuming and extracting, and nothing satiates him. He doesn't get enough applause, so he makes himself the host at the Kennedy Center. He doesn't get enough fear, so he ups the budget of the ICE enforcement agency to be that of the 16th largest military in the world. He doesn't get enough of anything because he's empty. He's hollow. And you can't fill a black hole. And so the only thing that Jamelle offers up so keenly at the end of his piece is that the only thing that will potentially stop him at some point is the people. Is the people deciding that they don't want to be ruled by an idiot and a blowhard, by a liar and a crook. It is when the people decide that at the core of who we are as Americans, with all the indoctrination and the sane washing of some of the most traumatic and violent experiences and birth of this country, we are indeed revolutionaries. And we only need a small group of us to gather enough strength, enough wherewithal to combat their idiocracy before it's too late. And the question Where I find myself often is, have we already reached that point? Is it already too late? But the way that I hold on to hope is that so long as we can muster hope, so long as we can continue to wake more people up, it is never too late. But my God, when you take a look at the things that are being done, when you look at this image of video of FBI and MPD, the Metropolitan Police Department, and DEA agents patrolling the streets of Georgetown. And for those of you who have not been to Washington, D.C., Georgetown is probably one of the wealthiest zip codes in the area. What are they patrolling for? The Ralph Lauren store? The Balmain? Right? Are you going to arrest people trying to have dinner at one of the pricey restaurants that are in Georgetown? Do you see? Oh my goodness, the streets are just full of absolutely nothing but a small dick parade that I see in front of me. Ugh. And so Donald Trump continues to consume, continues to cheapen everything that was once an honor and prestigious about America, like the Kennedy Center. Again, for those that have never been, it is an esteemed, beautiful, beautiful center. Ballets and orchestras and plays where you would once watch as some of our most esteemed entertainers, performers, musicians, directors are given the highest honor. And now, much like everything that Donald Trump touches, it is now just akin to, oh, I don't know. What's the cheapest thing that I could possibly think of in this moment? I don't know, a pile of Donald Trump shoes or meme coins, or think of the tackiest, most disgusting thing. He's turned it into like a 2-bit show at, I don't know, in Atlantic City. Some of the people that he's honoring: Sylvester Stallone, Kiss. Nothing against, glam rock, but the leader of that band is a white supremacist maggot. That's the reason why they're being celebrated. I can't think of the other people that don't matter. But on top of that, Donald Trump is going to host it. And just to give you an idea of just the sane washing and the fuckery that is happening, this is what the New York Times had to say about it. Trump affirmed his growing influence over the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts in Washington Wednesday morning by announcing the new class of Kennedy Center honorees and revealing that he'd host this year's ceremony personally. Trump has taken a strong interest in Kennedy Center's affairs ever since naming himself chairman in February. His news conference made clear he is in complete control of the Kennedy Center honors, and he suggested he had approved the final list of honorees himself. New York Times. Let me help you rewrite this. Small dick man needs to insert himself in places of power by force because he has no ability to do so on merit. Donald Trump, much like dictators of the past, has decided to commandeer culture because then he won't receive any criticism. He has taken some of the incredible B-listers and has put them front and center as if to, again, cheapen this once celebrated honor. This is what small men and small minds do. Do you think that Donald Trump is somehow an arbiter of culture? A man whose taste buds only consume processed, cheap fast food that even scientists tell you does not decompose. The man that actually has access to all the best chefs and restaurants in the world satiates himself with fast food that comes out of a plastic container and box. This is the man that is going to be telling us what culture is. A man that is going to further degrade the White House by putting on a UFC fight. I can think of nothing more disgusting and offensive. But also at the same time, I also don't give a fuck because I don't take my notes on culture from people who have none. So I tell you, dear friends, do not watch the Kennedy honors. Don't even turn on your fucking television. Do something else, something exciting, like, I don't know, rearranging your furniture or watching paint dry or feeding a goldfish. Because you see, they feed themselves on the outrage that they're looking for. And I, for one, just don't want to give it to them because I don't give a fuck. You know, I come from a people who was always marginalized. Do you think that all of a sudden now that you see some Black folks and queer folks getting these highest honors that before then, like our talent didn't exist? No, they just needed to keep you out of the club because that's how fragile and small they are. Because when faced with real competition and talent, they can't compete. So they'd rather keep you out of their clubs and keep you out of their awards. I mean, we just saw this recently with the Grammys, right? Beyonce wins Best Country Album for Cowboy Carter. And guess what the Grammys decided to do? Move the goalposts because that's what mediocre white people do. So now they have two different types of country awards. Segregated, of course, one for contemporary country and the other for traditional country. Just call one Black country and the other one white country. But let us stop kidding ourselves that we haven't seen this routine before. This is the shit that, like, Jim Crow and segregation was built on. Because you see, if you actually can compete, you just do. If you are actually an alpha, I don't have to fucking tell you that I am. You see that shit a mile away. But you see, the people that talk so fucking much, people that have to pump up their chests, are trying to hide how small and stupid and weak they are. So do you think that I give a fuck whether or not Donald Trump is going to be hosting the Kennedy honors? No, I absolutely do not. Because all of these people that show up, that are on that stage, that are in that room, help reveal more of who they are to the American people so that you are not confused. Right? What America needs right now is clarity. So you should thank Donald Trump for what the fuck it is that he's doing, because the thing is clear as day. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's also, right, a fucking pedophile. So I'm not going to release the Epstein files. So let me dance around like the diddler on the roof. I'm not going to do what I told my followers I'm going to do. So let me drop a few troops in Washington, D.C. Let me take over the Kennedy Awards. Let me put a UFC fight on the front lawn. Let me do everything but what my followers thought that I would do, which is, oh, I don't know, fix the economy, which wasn't broken. But Donald Trump sure has fucked it up. Distract, distract, distract. And am I saying that these people are not dangerous? No, I absolutely am not, because I can think of nothing more dangerous than stupidity mixed with white fragility. But my God, folks, masterminds, evil geniuses, these people are not. Let us go on, shall we? On the course of everything else that Donald Trump is doing at the moment. We've lost PBS and NPR and arbiters of truth that would educate future generations. Well, the Trump regime is now seeking to replace PBS with Prager University, a far right propaganda organization that isn't actually a university because, of course, it's not. Just like Donald Trump's steaks weren't actually a fucking steak. But, here we go. One of their kids' videos has Christopher Columbus telling them that slavery was no big deal and better than being killed. Let me tell you, folks, if you have kids or you're a teacher right now or any type of caregiver, a fucking babysitter or a nanny, my advice to you, go get your kids some books before they're all burned and banned. My advice to you is everything that they're putting in front of your face, look the other way. It's opposite day in America. Okay? So anything that is being offered up to you is easy and accessible, understand that it's a fucking trap. The entire goal of erasure is to promote white nationalism. The entire renaming of the ships to Confederate soldiers and the exercising of Black people from curriculum and history and the extortion that's happening at higher education and the manipulation at the K through 12 level, all of it is to build a very small, narrow-minded, gullible, non-critical thinking public that you can control. So your job as a parent, as a caregiver, as a teacher, as a nanny, as a babysitter, is to instill as much knowledge as you possibly can before that too becomes illegal. Because just take a look at this fucking dum-dum. Eric Trump. I don't know where he falls on the list of stupidity inside that family, but woo, boy, it is deep. Tennessee Holler says corruption and grift at every turn. Trump's son gets defensive, say he had no choice but to profit off the presidency because what else is he supposed to do? I don't know. Work for a living?
Yes, and all of you. Critics are saying, hey, well, maybe you shouldn't be doing this. The New Yorker, for example, says the number. How much is Trump pocketing off the presidency? Axios. President Trump and his family stand to net $3.4 billion by the end of the second term. David Kirkpatrick reports for the New Yorker in a piece today the number of why it matters. No U.S. president has monetized the highest off in the land quite like this. Eric, your answer to those headlines.
Brian, it's infuriating. We had nowhere to go. Capital One stripped 300 bank accounts from me, 300 in the middle of the night. They sent us a letter after doing business for 20-something years. All your bank accounts for golf courses and condominium buildings and hotels, they're all gone in the middle of the night. I mean, how do you pay your taxes? How do you pay your employees?
Well, we know you don't pay taxes.
The board. It happened with J.P. Morgan Chase. It happened with Bank of America. It happened with First Republic. And this wasn't just happening to the Trumps, people with a lot of zeros on the end. This was happening to conservatives all over the country. We didn't have a damn choice.
I don't notice them talking about the hundreds of millions of dollars we had to spend fighting lawfare. That doesn't matter, right? That was all nonsense, right? Russia, you name it. Impeachment 1, hoax 2, 3, 4, 5, infinity. No one talks about that. They weaponized the entire full force of the United States government against our family. And unlike all the other people who'd served as a presidency before, basically since our founding fathers, Trump was the only guy that was actually a businessman before that. Are we supposed to stop running our businesses? Are we supposed?
Yes, actually. That's what it means to be a public fucking a servant. If you want to run your business, do you know what you do? You stay in corporate America. But because you all are a bunch of grifters and have run every business into the fucking ground, you needed to find some dupes. You needed to find more people that you could steal from. And what better place than the U.S. Treasury? What better place than the IRS? What better place than the unsuspecting Americans who believe that their tax dollars are actually going to fix their lives and their country and their roads and their schools? He ran for president because they were running out of money and their name was no longer worth licensing. So they're telling you straight to your face, oh, Well, we had to do this grift because what else are we supposed to do? Because guess what? They have no fucking skills. So it's not like they're going to create something. It's not like they're going to innovate. They do what they do best. Grift, lie, sell baubles, and lies. And they just admitted it on national television. And everyone just goes about their business because you see, what we learned, dear friends, what we learned is that all of the presidents before Trump were essentially doing handshake deals. I'll put my business, I'll put my farm in a trust so that there's no thought about the fact that I'm only in this position for the American people, that I'm not benefiting. But you see, there were no real laws written to say that. They just did it because that's what we expected of them. What we realized with Trump 45 is that most of the things that we thought were a given were honestly only done because, well, we thought that our forefathers had it all figured out, that apparently only noblemen would run for president, not power-hungry, fucking insatiable grifters. And that we had checks and balances in place to ensure that even if one of those grifters were to sneak in under the wire, well, then surely they would be taken care of. Alas, but we are here. And then you have these idiots. Let this video speak for itself.
Shows one agent pushing Brian up against the wall and demanding he prove his citizenship.
I truly believe I was a target because of my race. I believe I was racially profiled. I believe I was attacked because I was walking while brown.
Brian says he voted for Trump.
Because I believe he ran on lies. He ran on lies. He lied to many of us.
President Trump said that he was going to do this. He said mass deportations. He said this is part of his plan.
Yeah, he said criminals. We were all manipulated. We were all brainwashed. And now look at us. We are all suffering because of it. And I feel guilty 100%.
Well, you should feel guilty because you're a fucking idiot, right? Like, do you think that I feel bad for these people that are now being hemmed up by their own fucking stupidity? Oh, well, Donald Trump, he said that he was only going to go after criminals. So the criminal told you he was only going to go after criminals, and you thought to yourself, ooh, I believe him. Oh, but it gets better. It gets even better. I don't know who this TikToker is, and maybe some of you do, but my God, does she do a fucking sarcastic takedown of MAGA lover, country singer Carrie Underwood and her husband. Take a listen.
Breaking and devastating news about country icon and American Idol winner Carrie Underwood and her former professional hockey player husband, Mike Fisher. Reports are surfacing that the husband and wife duo are facing a devastating crisis on their Tennessee farm. Sources state that they are unable to maintain their 400-acre, multi-million-dollar farm and dozens of farm animals because there are no immigrants left to work the farm. Carrie and her husband have allegedly been hospitalized due to exhaustion from milking their own cows, picking their own crops, and cleaning the stalls. It's unclear if this has anything to do with her political choices and the couple supporting an extremely anti-immigrant presidential candidate. The very president that has made it his mission to deport the workers that farms across the United States of America depend on. This is just a completely heartbreaking reminder that elections have consequences.
Bravo. Bravo. It was so good. So very good. You know, sometimes, folks, you gotta laugh so that you don't cry. And that was pure comedy. Also happening across the pond, and thank you to the people of Cotswold and the UK. because my goodness, the imagery that is coming out, this is one of the AI images that they have now driving around Cotswold and the UK as JD Vance spends $11,000 a week of our tax dollars so that he can be on vacation. Because I don't know about you, but I can recall that when, oh, I don't know, Kamala Harris was vice president of the United States, the world wanted to know what the vice president did and where she was and what she was doing and who she was with. But evidently, all of that curiosity is now gone, and this motherfucker can just be on vacation in blue states and anywhere that he wants, wherever he wants. He can raise rivers in order to kayak for his fucking birthday, and he can, visit London and go to this place and that place, and nobody's wondering what issues JD Vance is working on. No, because the only thing that he has to do is stay alive longer than Kenkles. That's his job right now. That's what Peter Thiel's puppet is up to. Love this image. It's so fucking good. Speaking of takedowns and things that have to make you laugh so that you don't cry, Gavin Newsom's press team deserves an Emmy for the work that they are doing in media right now, on social media, taking down Donald Trump one post at a time. This comes out of Gavin Newsom's press office, and it was brilliant. Final warning, Donald Trump, may be the most important warning in history. Stop cheating or California will redraw the maps. And guess who will announce it this week? Gavin Newsom. Many say the most loved and handsome governor and very powerful team. Don't make us do it. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Oh, God. God, it's good. It gets even better. Donald Taco Trump, as many call him, missed the deadline. California will now draw new, more beautiful maps. They will be historic as they will end the Trump presidency. Dems take back the House. Big press conference this week with powerful Dems and Gavin Newsom, your favorite governor. That will be devastating for MAGA. Thanks for your attention to this matter. GN. Look, here's my thing. For all the things that I think about Gavin Newsom, which is a lot of them, his team right now, bravo. Because this is how you do it. This is how you get under the skin of the thinnest skinned, largest kenkled, small hand, feet man in the world. You use his own stupid, small pettiness and you exploit it. That's what you do. And in case you need an even better lesson on how to take down someone who was once deemed powerful and impenetrable, look no further than Zoran Mamdani's latest ad taking down Cuomo. And this is how we will close out today's show. Take a listen.
Andrew Cuomo resigned in disgrace, and you probably know why.
The governor's office kept the nursing home death data secret.
Cuomo aggressively groped an aide.
Inappropriately touched a female state trooper.
Use of state resources for a COVID-19 memoir.
Less well known is what he spent the last 4 years doing, besides getting trounced in the Democratic primary. In 2022, Cuomo started Innovation Strategies LLC to represent individuals and corporations in a variety of matters. Definitely not vague. Last year, it raked in more than $500,000. Who paid for Cuomo's services? He refuses to say. But what journalists have been able to piece together is troubling. In April, Bloomberg revealed that Cuomo advised a cryptocurrency exchange based in the Seychelles as it faced federal investigations. Then in May, Politico reported that Cuomo failed to disclose $2.6 million in stock options to the New York City Conflicts of Interest Board. His excuse? The stocks were technically owned by Innovation Strategies LLC, of which he's the sole proprietor. Finally, in June, the New York Times uncovered that Cuomo had worked with his longtime friend Andrew Farkas on a luxury marina project in Puerto Rico. Farkas' previous partner on luxury marinas in the Caribbean, Jeffrey Epstein.
We had a finance chair like none other, Andrew Farkas.
That's the thing about Andrew Cuomo. Once you think you found out about all of his scandals, you find out about another, and then probably another. But if my friend, the disgraced former governor of the state of New York, feels that's unfair, Habibi, release your client list.
I mean, if that is not a masterclass in how to scorch some fucking earth, I don't know what is. Zoran Mamdani is up in everybody's fucking poll. And I pray that come November, this New Yorker has something to celebrate, because Donald Trump has tried to endorse Cuomo because that's going to get people to vote for him, right? Corporate media has tried to take him down. Corporatist Dems have tried to take him down, and he just keeps on going. Why? Because people are sick and tired of being fucking lied to. They're sick and tired of inauthenticity. They're sick and tired of these corporate hacks and these paid for PACs. They're sick and tired of these manipulated politicians. They want somebody with brains, with brass, and that, yes, is bold and interesting. Mamdani right now is checking all the boxes. And frankly, he is going to need all of the help that he can possibly get to gut New York City of all its corporatists and all of its capitalist interests, to really turn it into a city that can be the envy of the world by how it treats the least among us. So bravo to him. So whenever you find yourselves, folks, which I'm certain is often, feeling low, feeling like no one is doing anything, understand that there are people out there doing the work. There are people out there to support, to uphold, to uplift, to share, to, like, we can get this thing done. Is it going to happen overnight? May it happen in our lifetime? Inshallah, I hope so, but I don't know. But what I do know is that in order to win, we actually need to support candidates that give a damn and that actually know how to fucking play the game. Folks, that is it for me today here on the Danielle Moodie Show. I appreciate each and every single one of you for showing up and for watching here on YouTube and on my Substack, The Damn Digest. If you have not become a subscriber, hit that bell right now. It is free. I keep all of my content, whether on Substack or on YouTube, absolutely free, because I believe that democracy, as well as our intelligence and critical thinking, dies behind a paywall. So I am grateful for those of you that share your treasure with me. Raymond, thank you so much, who dropped so much money today. I appreciate you. Vivian, Diana, Essie Wiggett, Zoe, TMD, Be Best, Faye, Maria, LG, Raymond again, Paula, His Divine, E. Schwartz, as always, Susan, our fantastic moderator, and Mountain Heather. Thank you so very much for your extraordinary generosity and your support of independent media. I appreciate all of you. I will be back tomorrow live at 5 p.m. Eastern. As always, my dear friends, power to the people and to all the people power. Get woke, stay sane, and in these extraordinarily dangerous times, dear friends, do stay safe. I will be back here with you 5 p.m. Eastern. Be well.